Hi guys, welcome to Little Girl Recaps. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy cute little girl stories. In the heart of a turbulent scene, a desperate plea resonates through the room, aimed at rescuing a girl with striking red eyes and jet black hair. Amidst the chaos, a man, weakened and on the brink, shares the final wish of the elder. He hints that the girl holds the key to their salvation, her compliance crucial. But before his words settle, a woman's passionate outcry pierces the air, questioning why the girl insists on subjecting her father to this trial when she could save herself through sacrifice. A chorus of voices rises, urging the girl to embrace her duty, to become the hero they believe she can be. Yet, amidst the clamor, the girl stands stoic, her gaze distant, finding the debate trivial and the noise overwhelming. The other woman steps forward, challenging the girl's resolve, questioning if she truly finds solace in repaying love with sacrifice. But with a single word, pampered, the girl rebuffs, exposing the hypocrisy in her family's expectations. Brushing aside her father's pleading touch, she calmly asserts that such sacrifices are not unfamiliar to her. Despite the gravity of the situation, she reassures them, proclaiming that offering herself to protect the world is a minor feat for someone who has traversed countless lifetimes, accumulating mysterious powers along the way. Her gaze wanders beyond the confines of the room, pondering the lack of empathy in those who would blame her for her own demise. Amidst the tension, a sense of gratitude emanates from her father as he envisions the restoration of their lineage. Despite the weight of the decision, the girl remains resolute, ready to confront whatever fate awaits her, her enigmatic powers poised to shape the course of destiny. Yet, she perceives their familial theatrics as futile and voices her dissent. Summoning a staff adorned with a luminous blue orb, she questions the willingness of her kin to pay the steep price for her sacrifice. Confusion ensues amongst the assembly, but enlightenment dawns as a newspaper article unveils her true identity as the prophesied savior of the world, despite her parents' mistreatment. The tranquility is shattered by the intrusion of imperial soldiers, heralding imminent danger. The father's desperate entreaties to uphold familial honor fall on deaf ears as the girl, now revealed as a figure of great power, defies his commands. The story delves into the background of our protagonist's upbringing, revealing her parents' casual approach to starting a family, viewing it as merely an item on their bucket list. Despite having a brother, both siblings suffered from neglect in their childhood. Yet, even in the absence of familial love, the protagonist found solace in the affection of a perceptive observer and the companionship of friends who reached out to her. However, tragedy strikes as a truck accident claims the lives of her friends, leaving her bereft and contemplating the fragility of life. She reflects on the unfairness of having to bid farewell to existence just as she approached the cusp of adulthood, having not yet tasted the joys of completing her college entrance exams. Standing amidst the ruins of her once promising future, the protagonist resigns herself to the fate that awaits her. Each subsequent life she's lived has been marred by the recurring demand for her sacrifice, a burden she has begrudgingly shouldered for 99 lifetimes. As she gazes out over the city, wielding her staff of power, she muses on the absence of regrets in her current life, haunted only by the memory of a missed opportunity in a past existence to avert global catastrophe. Yet, despite possessing immense power, she is burdened by the weight of expectation and blame placed upon her by those she cannot save. With resignation rather than bitterness, she accepts her fate as her staff begins to emanate a celestial light, signaling the end of her 99th life. Transitioning to a serene mansion scene, where a baby's hand reaches skyward, an eye opens, and the arrival of a new life is celebrated. Amidst the calm, our protagonist, now reincarnated for the 100th time, grapples with the surreal reality of her perpetual cycle. She finds solace in the familiarity of the maid's smile and the resemblance of the newborn to her mother, deciding to embrace the present and adapt to the circumstances. However, the tranquility is interrupted by the arrival of an individual announcing the master's presence, revealing the protagonist as his cherished daughter. Anastasia squints her eyes, wondering if the man before her is her father. She observes his shadowy and menacing appearance, recalling the numerous times her life has been ruined. She contemplates what tragedy awaits her this time: neglect, mistreatment, or the burden of an ominous prophecy? Her father reaches out to grab her, and she fears for her life. She wonders if this will be her end, as soon as she is born. Until the world around her falls apart again, she is powerless to intervene. She questions if she will have to endure witnessing the destruction of her world once more, a nightmare from which she cannot awaken. She must continue watching until the world unravels, longing to have lived and experienced the pain herself. To her surprise, the man places his hand on her cheek and weeps. He cries that she is their youngest and thanks her for being born safely. As she looks up, she wonders what kind of situation she has found herself in. She gazes at her mother, who declares her a lovely daughter. Anastasia questions the happiness on their faces, a stark contrast to her previous experiences. The mother comments that the baby resembles her and hopes for a quiet and peaceful life in her 100th existence. The parents converse before announcing her name, Anastasia, a name fit for a hero. Anastasia is stunned by the mention of saving the world and bearing the name of a hero. Every time she has been associated with heroism, she has lived a miserable life. She clenches her fists, declaring the situation boring and inevitable. She fears her parents will exploit her again, forcing her to sacrifice for their gain. She laments her naivety in hoping for a different outcome and anticipates that this life will be even worse than before. She exclaims her frustration and annoyance. As her father holds her, a young girl enters the room, her eyes filled with awe as she addresses Anastasia as her sister. A month has passed since Anastasia's birth, and surprisingly, nothing tragic has befallen her. She notes that she had prepared for the worst, given her hero's name, but it is still too early to relax. In her previous life, she was also hailed as a child of divine protection, but those who once pretended to care turned on her, fearing her power. Her parents now seem to adore her, but she suspects they will eventually force her to make sacrifices. She remains wary and observant of her surroundings. Her mother, the woman with black hair and red eyes, lulls her to sleep with a gentle touch. Her father, a man with a wolf-like appearance and pink hair, often speaks to her in a strange voice, leading her to wonder if he suffers from mental episodes. A maid constantly monitors her cradle with a bright smile, which Anastasia finds unsettling. She recalls being told that her father is a duke, making their family even more formidable. Noises interrupt her thoughts, and her father's voice booms, demanding an explanation. Anastasia realizes the commotion is about her and fears his anger. He enters the room, furious at her for not crying or laughing. The Duke dismisses the man attending to her, labeling him incompetent. The Duke threatens to remove the man's head for his inability to explain her behavior. Anastasia wonders if he will truly execute the man simply because she does not vocalize her emotions. She remembers that in her previous lives, her parents sought to silence her cries, leading her to suppress her emotions for survival. The man pleads his case, insisting that the baby is healthy, and asks the Duke to believe him. Overwhelmed by guilt, Anastasia cries out, begging them not to harm the man. Her cries startle the Duke, who turns around, his anger melting away. He holds her up, praising her beautiful face. She questions if her tears have appeased him, as previously, crying had only brought her harm. She blushes and trembles, struggling to maintain her composure. Someone walks into the room, and the Duke turns to see his young daughter, who expresses disgust. The girl demands to know why Laura has been left out. Her eyes widen in surprise as she spots Anastasia. Anastasia recognizes the girl as her older sister in this life. She reflects on how siblings often deprive her of parental affection and worries about Laura's potential disdain. Laura approaches, declaring her love for her baby sister, much to Anastasia's astonishment. Laura suggests giving the baby the nickname Shasha, which Anastasia finds amusing. She enthusiastically agrees, waving her hands in the air. The Duke inquires about Laura's newfound affection for Anastasia. Laura jumps into another hug, expressing her excitement about having a little sister. The Duke concedes that Anastasia is too young for pudding but offers it to Laura instead. Laura insists on sharing it with Shasha, as she remembers feeling upset when she was unable to eat sherbet during her illness. Anastasia is touched by Laura's concern and agrees to have a bite. Her father responds to her request, embracing her and assuring her that he will listen to her needs. Anastasia is overwhelmed and confused by the unexpected love and attention she is receiving. The Duke comments that he heard Laura enjoys eating delicious food, surprising the baby, who wonders when she said that and suggests that they eat it for her. Laura apologizes as she devours the dessert. She then asks if she can borrow her baby sister's deer, but the Duke replies that Laura cannot sleep without it and questions if she is okay. Laura assures him that she is fine and that Shasha, as her younger sister, should lend it to her. This causes the baby to react, and she cries out that this is not right and that she cannot let her guard down. She pleads with them to not be nice to her and to hate her as they have for her entire life. Laura moves closer and asks if Shasha would prefer a rabbit or tiger instead, promising to keep it safe for her. The baby continues to wonder why they do not hate her. Laura suggests that the baby look and covers her eyes, before exclaiming peekaboo and making a funny face. The baby makes a laughing noise, before realizing she has been caught off guard once again. Her father and sister shout unbelievable as they continue to entertain Shasha. Anastasia has laughed, and a rumor spreads that everyone can see Anastasia due to the peekaboo game. This rumor circulates quickly, and all the maids attempt to play peekaboo with her. They make strange faces, and even the attending doctor participates. Of course, her father also plays peekaboo, but her mother intervenes to ensure Anastasia gets enough rest. Anastasia reflects that this is her first time experiencing such attention and she does not know how to respond. She wonders if she were in their shoes, she would have given up sooner or become angry. She looks outside to see the staff working harder and making funny faces. She questions their behavior and why they are so eager to please her. That afternoon, as she opens her eyes, she sees someone new. A boy asks Anastasia if she is awake, and she realizes that he is her older brother, Damien, who is 5 years older than her. Despite his age, he is preparing to become the heir of the dukedom. Anastasia has heard that he is busy and wonders why he has come to see her. She reminds herself to be cautious around him as well. Damien questions why she is thinking that way and pokes at her, saying she has such a serious face. He says that he has brought her a gift, surprising the baby, who wonders why everyone is trying to do things for her and how it is all suspicious. She nervously awaits something horrible, but her brother exclaims surprise and shows her a tiger doll. He explains that Laura mentioned Anastasia makes a funny face when she smiles and they had talked about tiger dolls. He has had the doll since childhood and he is giving it to Anastasia because he does not want it to be lonely. Anastasia realizes that this is no ordinary doll and wonders why he is giving her something so precious. He tells her that she needs to show him her smiling face in return. She looks up and wonders if he is really giving her something so valuable just for a smile. She questions if everyone just wants to see her smiling face and laughs as she holds the tiger doll. Her brother looks stunned and calls her Anastasia. Throughout her many lives, Anastasia has learned the hard way to always be on her guard. She wonders if that means that a day of peace should not have come to her at least once. Her family looks on from outside the door before rushing in to see her. She holds back her smile as she thinks of how many times she has been disappointed but that she still wants to hope. This is her 100th birth, and unless her family turns against her, she should at least live with some motivation. The baby is dressed in a yellow dress, surrounded by several other dress options. She is then changed into a green dress and finally, she sits in a blue dress. The maids comment on how cute she is and how she looks like a snow fairy. Her mother says that her daughter is dressed like an angel and suggests buying everything in the store and paying the seamstress 4 times the regular price. The maid agrees, leaving the baby stunned. She reflects that she is still not used to this atmosphere. It all began a few weeks ago when she was 5 months old and had more freedom to move. She could now crawl and her communication skills had improved. Her father asks what she is saying and if she means that she loves her dad. She looks at her cradle and the window behind it and wonders how she is treated like a normal baby rather than being chased in fear. She lies back, thinking about how amazing and peaceful her life is. Her eyes then catch something confusing. her entire family is watching her every move. Laura exclaims that Shasha just turned over, and her father confirms it. Her brother comments on how agile his younger sister is, and that she rolls over faster than most normal babies. Their mother agrees, and says that Anastasia is an unusual child. They decide to commemorate Anastasia's first flip and celebrate with a grand party. It is a family-only party, and Anastasia observes the feast and her family at the table. She wonders why everything is so grandiose for a baby's first rollover. Her brother brings her a gift, and the doctor expresses how touched he is that Anastasia is growing up healthy. They all shout in excitement before a maid calls out to Anastasia, praising her for her amazing flip. Anastasia thinks about how parties usually mean bonuses for the staff, but why is everyone making such a fuss over a baby's rollover? She realizes that this place is unusual, and everyone is overly affectionate. The more she thinks about it, the more worried she becomes about her future. Fireworks erupt in the sky as her family watches in awe. They call to Anastasia and tell her that she just needs to stay healthy and grow bigger in the future. Anastasia clenches her fist, contemplating the positive aspect of her situation, her family's simple desire for her well-being rather than placing pressure for success upon her. She finds solace in the tranquility of the night, surrounded by the verdant leaves of the trees. Reflecting on the excitement of the previous day's festivities, she sits alone in her room, now quiet in the absence of the employees who have begun their year-end vacation. With only one maid present, temporarily assigned due to the vacation, Anastasia observes the girl, noting her youth and the weariness evident in her dozing form. Aware of her rare opportunity for solitude, Anastasia sets a modest goal for herself, to stand up and climb onto the nearby sofa. She muses on the desire to take small steps towards independence, emphasizing her reluctance to rush into adulthood. With determination, Anastasia reaches towards her goal, successfully hoisting herself onto the sofa just as a new maid enters the room, prompting her surprise. As the maid mentions her mother's request to bring the baby, Anastasia responds with a playful boo, curious about her unexpected return. Suspicion arises as she realizes the oversight of the sleeping maid assigned to her, leading her to voice her unease before bursting into tears. Her cries are quickly hushed by the intervention of the other woman, as the new maid assures her of her care. However, her tranquility is short-lived as she finds herself being carried through the woods. As her eyes flutter open, she is relieved to find herself not in the presence of the mysterious woman but still wary of her surroundings. Reflecting on her lapse in vigilance, she resolves to remain alert, recognizing the potential dangers of her situation. Clenching her fist in determination, she ponders her next course of action, unwilling to succumb to passivity in the face of uncertainty. Then, should she just get carried away and then find out who was behind all this? It could be annoying, but she still is able to use her teleportation. She wonders why they took her, though, and if this is a crime targeting her family or if someone managed to realize how much power she has. Either way, it would be worth finding out. She should be able to handle this and get rid of all the enemies within 3 days. She may not be able to go home during this time away, but at least she'll feel much better once she resolves this. She then notes how she does not want to worry her family too much, though, and that she should probably at least send them a message in their dreams, saying she'll be back soon. She tells them all to please be safe. Suddenly, someone runs into the person carrying Anastasia. He falls to the floor, wondering what this is as someone tells him to shut up. Our female lead looks up, thinking about how that was a young voice. Her red eyes gaze ahead to see some yellowish hair. A young boy with a sword stands in front of them, asking how dare this man do this. His eyes meet the eyes of the young female lead. He mentions to the captor that he has business with this young lady today, to which Anastasia wonders who this is. The captor mentions how this person is just a kid. He tells the boy to get out of the way, as Anastasia mentions this is her first time seeing this face as well. A group of men then appears, yelling to come over. The guy who took Anastasia wonders if they really noticed already and how it hasn't been long since they left the mansion. The boy is now running right by him and tells him that if he does not wish to lose anything, he should hand over the girl. The captor tells the boy to stop chasing him and that he has circumstances as well. To this, the young boy asks if he's really trying to make excuses for trivial reasons. He says this really cuts as Anastasia hears this, noting how this boy is the same age as her brother yet speaks in such a cruel way. She does note that this isn't mere bravery, since his posture, holding the sword, was very stable. Furthermore, he clearly has some magical powers. It's quite a bit of magical power at that. Both his swordsmanship and his magic power seem to be on point. So who on earth is he? The boy then whacks the captor by the feet, which sends the man tumbling down. Anastasia is now worried as she mentions how she's going to crash, and that if it's too much, she's going to have to use protection magic. Her eyes then close as some hands seem to reach out. Her eyes begin to open again as she wonders about how it did not hurt. The boy asks Anastasia if she is okay. He then asks if she was surprised or if she was hurt anywhere. If it is okay, since it seems she's not crying, she ponders to herself about how she's fine. As the man from before starts to rise up, the boy looks back. Anastasia thinks about how the kid let his guard down. He may have great skills, but he is still a child. She decides to herself that she cannot help it, and her eyes then flash red. The boy is stunned as the man behind him seems to get destroyed by some magic. The man lays on the ground now, as he notes how he did not do anything yet this man just fell. He then looks to his side in confusion. Anastasia seems to be struggling and mentions she needs to be careful about not using too much power when she's still this young. The boy wonders if the baby got surprised or is cold now. He then takes up his cape, before telling her it's okay, and wraps it around her to stay warm. As he does so, she thinks about how cozy it is now. The people then scream for the princess, and the little duke as the man from before gets apprehended. As Anastasia struggles, she thinks about how this might not turn out good. Someone then screams for Anastasia. Someone talks about how this may be a bit early since she is still young, but that since things have come to this, then they probably should hurry. Another responds that for the sake of the children, they need to move as quickly as possible. Anastasia now starts to wake up from all this as she starts to see her parents. She wonders how long she has been out for. Both her parents cry her name in concern. She looks up very red-faced as she notes it's her father and mother. The father then yells that Anastasia is awake and to call the doctor here immediately. They then ask if Anastasia is surprised and mention how they wish they could have stayed by her side. But that His Majesty gave orders. In her mind, she notes how it was important, though, since her father is the Duke. She notes how losing consciousness like this, with just that amount of force, meant the recoil was large. Due to her not preparing, someone then tells Anastasia that they are sorry. They repeat this as they both carry melancholy looks on their faces. Her eyes light up as she mentions how rare it is to find people who are kind to her and that she does not wish to hurt these people. Her hands wrap around their fingers as she wishes she really could grow up quickly. Someone then kneels onto the ground, a sword is wrapped around their hand. We then see a large group say they swear allegiance to her. Anastasia looks in disbelief as she wonders who the heck are all these people. Her father looks over to say that these are all the knights that will be protecting her from now on and asks how she is feeling. The story of the incident would spread and become a scandal. A son of a couple that worked for the Duke's residence had debts that he couldn't bear. The two people from that night both saw Anastasia's parents spend so much money on her and then had some foolish thoughts. They took her away during the year-end vacation and were planning to return her for a large sum of money. It was fortunate that her brother's friend found out and quickly stopped the man in his tracks. They say he was thrown out with a few broken bones. Her parents had mentioned how lenient they were with this treatment as well. She then mentions how she thinks it would be a good decision for her brother and sister, but all these knights, for a baby, is wild. Her father then mentions how all these knights have sworn their allegiance to her. He tells his daughter to give all these guys some words of encouragement. She is puzzled as she wonders what her father expects from a 6-month-old. She notes how there is no way they could get encouraged by a baby in the first place. However, all the knights then yell please to the princess and lord. All of them look very, very happy as she looks over. She mentions how this atmosphere just cannot be avoided.